Hello, welcome to the Mum Boss Method podcast. I'm Chrissy and I'm coming to you fresh from very last minute packing for my holiday. We had um, a bit of a suitcase mishap. Should we call it that? Yes, let's go with that, shall we? Let's go with a suitcase mishap. Um, I Long story, but anyway, I won't go bore you with the details. We needed a suitcase, so good old Amazon primed it yesterday, and it arrived at 5 o'clock today. So I couldn't pack until that arrived. But anyway, I'm packed now, and I'm ready to go. So there you go. I want to talk to you today about intentional and mindful. I'm going to say indulgence, but I'm going to expand this to a whole lot more. So, why am I talking to you about this? So, in with my clients this month, we are really focusing on intentional and mindful indulgence in April. I feel like April is another one of those months of indulgence. You've obviously got Easter, just moving my microphone closer to me. You've got Easter, so there's obviously chocolate, school holidays. So maybe you're away, maybe you're not, maybe the school holidays don't affect you at all. But if they do affect you, that can mean days out. It can mean actually going away. The weather has certainly been nicer the last couple of days and is improving as the week goes on. So that means that we want to be, we tend to be a bit more social. We tend to be a bit more, spontaneous. Oh, it's nice. Should we go to the pub for lunch? Or, should we go have a picnic or whatever? All of these things can kind of, and you know what? I'm totally with you. How nice has it been? As much as that wind has been a bit chilly, how nice has it been to have some sun on the skin? We've got out, we had lunch in a garden centre today, which my brother told me makes me officially old. But he's just bought a pair of Skechers, which, I bought my first pair of Skechers 18 months ago, and I'm okay with that. So, but anyway, we're really talking about in my client group making this month really full of intentional and mindful decisions. And I want to share with you what that means. Now, it doesn't matter whether you are going on holiday, you're actually leaving the country, you're going away. It doesn't matter if you're doing a staycation. It doesn't matter if nothing changes, you're just working through the month of April. What I really want you to think about is how can you make your decisions really intentional and really mindful. So that might look like going on holiday and making that decision about what your intention for that holiday is. It's an all-inclusive holiday, so I want to, eat and drink as much as I like, and I am prepared for that to potentially mean that I come back and I've got a little bit more work to do. I've perhaps, gained a little bit of body fat, lost, some of my fitness. It might be you're going on an all-inclusive holiday and you say, actually, I want to come back in pretty good shape and not feel like I have to really pedal hard. So I'm gonna create some intentional and mindful structure around that holiday. Let's take, some days out, for example. It could be that, I don't know, I picked the zoo because notoriously the zoo always has terrible food that's really expensive. But it could be that you're going for a day trip out to the zoo, and so you intentionally decide we are not eating at the zoo, we are going to take a packed lunch because the food at the zoo is terrible, it's never very tasty, and it's really expensive. I want you to really think about, the way that I've spoken to my clients about this is I want you to think about how you want to end April. How do you want to feel come is it 30 days? 30 days September, April, June, 30th of April, how do you want to feel? Do you want to have made progress against your goals, whether that's fat loss, whether that's getting fitter, whether that's improving your running times, whether that's getting stronger, building more muscle, whatever it is, maintaining, like reducing your stress, improving your sleep, whatever that is. I want you to really think about, okay, if that is my goal, what is the intention behind my goal? What are the intentional decisions and actions and behaviors I need to take? So, for example, for me, not that I've gone on about this at all, but it's 6 weeks. It was 6 weeks yesterday until my photo shoot. And I'm going on holiday tomorrow for 5 days. Then I come back. Then we've got Easter. I'm not going on my holiday to eat and drink whatever I want. I am intentionally going on holiday, having made some decisions around that holiday. I haven't drunk since the 2nd of February. I'm taking some gym clothes with me so that I can do some runs and do some bodyweight workouts. I'm intentionally choosing to have one indulgence a day whilst I'm on holiday. But that's because I really want to get to the end of April, when I will then have 17 days, 16 days, because we don't count the actual day of the shoot, 16 days until that shoot. And I want to get to April thinking, right, I've got just over 2 weeks. This is now just about tweaking, because that's, there's really not a huge amount I'm going to achieve in 2 weeks, especially if I go hell for leather on my next 5 days on holiday. So I talk to my clients about this concept of, are you rowing or are you coasting? And if I give you an example, one of my clients, in fact, a lot of my clients are teachers. A lot of my clients are teachers. And in teaching, I know that it often feels to teachers and those that work in schools that you are pushing and pushing and pushing until you get to a holiday. And then you get to a holiday and you're like, oh, I can relax a bit now and I can enjoy myself a bit now. And so with a lot of my teaching clients, I've talked about, is this a coast holiday or is this a row holiday? Now, with one of my clients in particular, most of the school holidays for her, the shorter ones, not so much the 6-weeker, but most of the holidays are coast holidays. And what I mean by that is, if we're rowing, we're actively moving towards that goal. We are making decisions. All of our decisions, or 80 to 90% of our decisions, are based around the goal that you have. So for me, my holiday is going to be a rowing holiday, not literally a rowing holiday. I am going to go and have fun, but I am also going to make mindful decisions, intentional decisions around my food, around my movement, and around the choices I make. So I'm rowing. I do not want to come back having gained the 2 kilograms that I've lost in March. Or we talk about coast holidays, which is maybe you bring yourself up to maintenance if you're in fat loss, or you perhaps say, well, I'm not going to get to the gym, but I do commit to 7-8K steps a day or something like that. So we talk about this concept of row or coast, and this particular client normally has coast holidays, but she has said, no, this holiday needs to be a row holiday for me. I need to be making decisions that serve my goal. So that's one example. I've got another example of a client who has just had a big birthday, and then also her husband has a big birthday this week, so they're away this week. And for her, she said, we're out for a lot of dinners. We've, friends, it's so lovely. Friends are wanting to take us out for dinners and stuff like that to celebrate our birthdays, and that's lovely. And yes, I can make some mindful decisions, but I can't be in complete control of everything. And so I'm going to accept that those meals will be coast meals, but all my other meals, all my other actions in between those things, they will be rowing decisions. They will be decisions that push me towards my goal. Okay. Now you can take this concept of rowing and coasting and intention and mindfulness into everything. You can take this concept into, getting enough sleep. How are you going to make sure that you get enough sleep? Are you going to really row towards getting enough sleep, making sure you're getting into bed at the right time, making sure you're winding down, you're not looking at your phone, making sure that you're not snoozing in the morning, because we all know that snoozing doesn't make you feel very good when you get back up again. So I encourage you to think about, what are your goals for the end of April? In order to get to your goals to the end of April, how do you need to act? Who do you need to be this April? What are the decisions that you need to make? And what are the things that you can do intentionally and mindfully to make sure that you achieve that goal by the end of April? So I've already given you some examples around my clients. I've already given you that example around sleep. It could be anything. One of my intentional decisions, I'm waving my phone around in front of my camera for those watching on YouTube. One of my intentional decisions has been to leave my phone outside of my room. I actually leave it down here in my office every evening before bed. And that is to protect my sleep. And I am so pleased that I did that last week, because it was such a busy week, which is another reason why I didn't pack until today. It was such a busy week that there were some nights I just wasn't able to get up to bed until 9:30, which is later than I'd like to. And if I took my phone with me in to bed, I would be tempted to sit there and scroll on my phone instead of just picking up my book and reading and getting myself off to sleep before 10 o'clock. So it's an intentional decision. There is an intentional action behind all of that. So I really want you to think about this. I really want you to think, where do I want to be? So what are we on? We're on the 6th of April. By the time this will go live in a second, but by the time you've listened to this, you could have 24 days at the most left of April. There's still plenty of time for you to make progress in that time. But rather than just writing off the next 2 weeks because it's the Easter holidays and it's full of chocolate and full of treats, what are you going to do to make sure you reach your goal and you feel your best at the end of April? And that all comes down to making those intentional and mindful decisions. And the biggest two tips I can give you around making those intentional and mindful decisions, there's two things. Firstly, planning, right? Planning as much as you can in advance. And you can plan even when you're going away. So we're going away, and we've already discussed between the four of us that are going, right, when we all get there tomorrow, we'll go find the shop, we'll get in our breakfast stuff, because then we know we're eating breakfast at our Airbnb every day. We've planned some of the activities that we want to do. I've already planned that I know I'm going to be running. My friends know I'm not drinking, so they know that's planned in. They know not to try and pressurize me into drinking. My husband is clear on the fact that I will not be drinking. So you can still plan even if you're going on holiday, even if you're going on an all-inclusive holiday, right? The second thing that I want you to think about when it comes to mindful and intentional decisions is giving yourself time. And by that, I don't mean, finding extra time in the day. I mean by pausing. Okay. So example, we were sitting at the garden centre having lunch today. Charlie couldn't finish his chips, and he said, "Mum, do you want some of my chips?" And I paused. I gave myself a second, and I made the intentional decision to say, "No, thank you, I'm okay." Because I didn't need them. I'd finished my lunch. I was quite comfortable. And also, I don't need the chips. I made that intentional decision by giving myself time to think about the answer and think about my goals. So, making a plan and giving yourself time, giving yourself that pause. They are the two things that are really going to help you with being intentional and mindful this April, as well as knowing what the goal is for the end of April. So that's my very quick tips for you for a mindful and intentional April. I have 2 one-to-one coaching spots available to start people immediately. Yes, even though I'm going away, I can still get you started immediately. If you would like some help with having an intentional and mindful April, with getting started on your goals now so that when you get to summer, you feel amazing, then check the link in the show notes or come and find me on social media. I will send you an application form. You can apply it and then I can have a look and make sure that you are the right fit for my coaching program. Okay, my beauts, I've got one more work thing to do, and then I'm going to go and sit and try and wind myself down because I need an early night because I've got to get up at 5 to get the kid to school so that he can get on a coach to Holland. There you go. Right, enjoy. I'll see you later. Bye.